or online, we're so glad to have you as part of our community. If it's your first time with us, we'd love the opportunity to connect with you. Simply scan the QR code below or on the back of your program, and that will take you straight to our online connection card. Once you fill that out, someone from our connections team will follow up with you this week to welcome you and answer any questions that you may have. However, if you are here with us today and would like more information, we want to invite you to join us immediately after the service for 10 After. There you will find an amazing group of people waiting for you to introduce you to our church and answer any questions. You will find 10 After just out the doors and down the hall to Connection Point. If you have kids, you can leave them in our children's ministry. It's just a 10-minute investment of your time, and we'll help you get connected at Christ Church Camden. As we head into worship today, I'd love to share with you a verse from Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 through 25 that says, "And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together as in the habit of some, but encouraging one another," which is just one very good reason for being a part of a church family. Thanks again for joining us today. We are so glad you're here. I'd love for you to go ahead and stand up, and if there's room next to you, please move toward the center. This helps to leave room for our guests. As you're doing that, feel free to say hey to a neighbor and join us as we sing together. I'll see you soon.
Hello. Good morning. When people come together, we're strangers, neighbors, our blood is one family, our children of generations, of every nation, of kingdom come. Oh, don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up, I don't fear no evil. But fix your eyes on this one truth: God is madly in love with you. So take control on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Say, oh, 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 yeah. Jesus. just for your kingdom. In Jesus' name. Well, you can say hello to someone next to you and see if you can beat them in rock, paper, scissors. Raise your hand if you're winning. Yeah, my people. I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't play, right? Ready? Shrine, it's over. All right. Well, we're so excited to continue in worship with you guys because today is not just like every other day, but we are here gathered to worship a holy God. Because God is with us wherever we go, but something happens when we gather together in one place to worship the name of Jesus.
Chains fall, fear
change everything. Lives healed, hope found here and now. Oh Jesus, you change everything. There's a grace when the heart is under fire. Another way when the walls are closing in. So when I look at the space between all that used to be and this reckoning, I know I will never be alone. There was another in the fire standing next to me. There was another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding of how I've been set free, there is a cross that bears the burden, where another died for me. There was another in the fire. All my dead let me get beneath the waters. I'm no longer a slave to my sin anymore. Should I fall in the space between all that remains of me and this reckoning? Either way, I will bow to the things of this world. I will never be alone. There is another in the fire standing next to me. There is another in the waters, holding back the seas. Should I ever need reminding of how set me free? There is a grave that holds nobody, and now that power lives in me. There is another in the fire. Oh, there is another in the fire. Oh, there is another in the fire. Oh, his name is Jesus, another is in the fire. I can see the light in the darkness as the darkness passes away. I can feel the roar in the heavens as the space between us and I can feel the ground shaking beneath us as the prison walls give in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us. There is no other name but the name that is Jesus. No, He who was and still is and will be through it all. Oh, truth. So come on, reign in the space between all the things unseen in this reckoning. I know I'll never be alone. Say I know I will never be alone. There'll be another in the fire standing next to me. There'll be another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding still walls breathing, and nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between. There'll be another in the fire, standing next to me. There'll be another in the waters, holding back the seas. Should I ever need reminded how good you've been to me? I count the joy from every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy from every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy from every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy from every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy from every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. Yes, you are.
Let's pray. God, thank you for being a God who loves us and cares about us, and being a God who, despite our circumstances, how good or bad they may be, you are good and you love us and you are powerful and you are at work. And so I pray that this morning, whatever we walked in this room with, whatever the circumstance may be, that we can be here this morning worshiping and giving it all to you, knowing that you love us and you are for us and you are at work in our life. We love you in your name. Amen. You guys can have a seat. Well, good morning. Welcome to Christ Church Camden. My name is Dan, and I get to be our student pastor here, and I love every minute of it. So love hanging out with your 6th to 12th graders. It's incredible. I don't know if you're newish here, or maybe you've just started coming since Easter or this year. You've probably already heard it, but just again to remind you, we as a church are on a mission. And that mission is to flip the spiritual climate of Camden County, to reach more and more people for Jesus, to lead the disconnected and the unfulfilled to find a full life in Jesus. And we talk about how that is a big goal. That is a big mission, to reach Camden County as a whole. And so we talk, you'll probably hear John say it, or Allison or myself or whoever's on stage, talk about how it's not just going to be us as a church. This mission is Camden-wide, and there are other amazing churches in our county who are doing awesome things for Jesus, who love Jesus, who teach Jesus, and who are reaching people with the gospel. And our goal as a mission is to do that together. And we get to do something incredible tonight with our students. We get to do something called Camden United tonight. This is a worship night where we are going to St. Mary's Church over there by the post office in St. Mary's, and we are gathering together students from all different churches across Camden County to unite as the capital C church, the global church, to be like kingdom-minded and remind them that, hey, we're not in competition. Just because you go to that church or I go to this church or your church looks like that and my church looks like this or our seats look like that and you have pews, whatever it may be, we're reminding them that, hey, actually, it's not about us against each other. It's about us doing this together. In our prayer through these kind of united nights, our prayer is that a student from Chaos might go and might stand there and be worshiping and might look across the room and see a student who they didn't know went to another church, but who they might be in math class together or might be on the same team, and they can look at them and go, oh man, we're in this together. Like you and me, we're in this together. We are at Camden County High School with a mission together to reach people for Jesus. And you might go to a different church and you might sing different songs than us, but man, we're in this together to reach people for Jesus. And so I just want to make you guys aware that something incredible is happening tonight called Camden United. So if you have a 6th to 12th grader, we would love to have that student there. It begins at 6 p.m. at St. Mary's Church, again, right over there by the post office. And this is going to be our 3rd one. And every night, man, I go in, there's so many moving parts, you go in a little bit nervous, and you leave just so encouraged to watch students from 7, 8, 9 different churches in our local community just worshiping God together, laughing together, hanging out together, praying together, taking communion together to remind ourselves that the mission we are on is mutual, that we're in this together. And our mission goes beyond just that, right? Our mission goes even into the summer. One of my favorite things is camp. Our mission includes camp, to lead disconnected and unfulfilled students to find a full life in Jesus through camp. I love camp. On a Wednesday night in camp, I forget that I love camp. I kind of hate it, and I'm exhausted. But by Friday, I remember, man, this is incredible. We have 2 different camps, Connect Camp for elementary students. You guys have heard lots about Connect Camp. But we also have Chaos Summer Camp. Brand new. We're doing something new. Instead of going 5 hours away, we're actually going to Epworth by the Sea on St. Simon's Island. We have rented a week, and we are going to run our own camp. And our goal for this was to be more mission-minded, to be more accessible to our students, to create a more accessible and more affordable camp experience where we still get to have all the incredibleness, where we build relationships with students and leaders and we point them to Jesus and we see growth through that, and we can do it much closer to home at a much more affordable price. You can find signups all over the place on our website, on our app, everything like that. We are so excited to bring this amazing camp experience much, much closer to home. And our goal is to keep it as inexpensive as possible. And one of the ways we're going to do that is by trying to raise money through the Chaos Golf Tournament, our first ever golf tournament on May 20th at Trident Lakes. So we would love to have you partner with us. You may think I'm pretty bad at golf. That's okay. If someone says they're good, they're not actually probably that good. You can still play with us. We would love to have you join us to play, to create a team. If you're like, I really don't like golf, but I want to help with camp, there's whole sponsorships available. There's other things you can contribute. You can serve with us. You can volunteer that day. If you have any questions about that, our sign up again is on our app. It's in the events section of our app and our website. If you have a question, you can come find me, the giant guy in the Chaos shirt. But every dollar we raise through this golf tournament is going to go to making sure that not a single student misses out on a camp experience to meet Jesus and build relationships because of finances. We want no student to miss because of that. So we're going to have a ton of fun at this golf tournament. We'd love to have you there. And again, camp, these are continuing our mission. We're doing all this so that we can lead disconnected and unfulfilled people to find a full life in Jesus. So if you find yourself here today ready to partner with us on that mission, one of the ways you can do that is partnering in generosity. You can give online through our app, or even there'll be ushers at the door as you leave. But we just always want to say thank you, that we appreciate you partnering with us. And I just want to say, man, I'm so excited about what's happening tonight, at the end of the month, and this summer. I think God's going to do some incredible, incredible things. I'd like to pray, and then we'll keep moving forward. God, we love you. Thank you for what you're doing in the hearts and lives of students. Thank you for what you're doing in the hearts and lives of students at other churches as well. And God, thank you for what you're doing with our kids in the kids building and their hearts, what you're doing in parents' hearts and families' lives through this series. And God, we thank you that you change everything, that you, Lord, no matter how broken our family may seem, no matter how broken our life may seem, we know that you can heal and repair and restore. And so I pray that this morning, whatever we brought in this morning that's broken, we can be ready to hand to you. And we can be ready to listen and ready to follow you and see how incredible you can work in healing and growth. We love you in your name. Amen.
Well, happy Sunday, everybody. Glad you guys are here. Everybody good? Awesome. Glad you guys are here today. My name's John. I'm one of the pastors, and excited for us to jump back into this series, I Want a New Family. Before we get there, and again, you could get a head start if you want, but we're going to hang out in Matthew chapter 7 just a little bit. We're going to read that. Then we're going to jump over to Joshua chapter 24, which are both, well, not really family related in the sense that we're going to use them, but then we're going to tie it into the family again, kind of like we did last week. But while you're getting all that situated, a couple of things real fast. One, in the next couple of weeks, there's some important things happening. Next Sunday, we have our partnership class, which is where we talk about the vision and the mission of our church, our strategy, the next steps you can take to be a part of it, and the things that we teach as a church. And so that's a really important class that a whole lot of you still need to go through, okay? You know who you are, most all of you. And that's next Sunday, okay, 8:30 during the first worship service. Dan directed you to the app. You can find that in the events on the app, and you can go through partnership class next week. Hour or less, and only the one time. So partnership next week. Then after that, the Sunday after that is Mother's Day. And I just want to kind of dangle this out there in front of you. And I'm kind of sure this is happening, but not 100%. But I think on Mother's Day, I'm going to be joined by the lovely and talented Chris McLarnon, which is my wife, who, please, we're working on it, okay? I think that she'll come out and we're going to talk all things family from our perspective. And I kind of liken it to like farmer's insurance. Like we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two, okay? And so that doesn't mean we're the experts, but we get the microphone. And so we've been talking about how to guide that conversation. And so if you all want to submit some questions that you would like us to talk about, you can do that, and you can find an email address that you can send them to and go, hey, I have a question about this, or how did you guys do that? Or, in 30 years of ministry, what have you seen other people do? And maybe we'll use some of those to guide our conversation. So that'll just give you a chance for some input there, okay? So those two things are important, partnership and then Mother's Day. I want to show you something that happened yesterday that was really cool, okay? Got to be a part of a baptism, and you can see a picture of it right here. But this guy is Anderson, and that's me, and that's Dan right there. But Anderson is bound to his wheelchair, but he made the decision he wants to trust to Jesus, and he was going to be immersed. And so we had to work this out with Divers Den, that they put him on a, Just hold that one right there. But we worked it out so that they could put him on a chairlift, and we put him down in the water, and then we baptized him. And I think, if there was something I could say, okay, man, this is like a picture of what we're going for, I think this is the one that summarizes it, because you got Anderson there, his wife Joy. Behind them is a caretaker, their nurse, who has been subjected to our services because she cares for him. Listen, and a couple of weeks ago, she chose to be baptized as a result of that. And these are a lot of the people who said they would give up a Saturday, part of it, to come and support him. They've been in small group together, and so I just love that picture right there. And then, maybe two people who aren't even a part of our church who had to be a part of that. So that's pretty cool right there. And I do want to celebrate one more thing with you, and then we'll go forward. But, last week I came out and I started the message by saying, hey, week number 1, 3 weeks ago when we started the 3 services, was the most people that we've ever had for worship on a Sunday that wasn't a holiday since I've been here, almost 5 years. And that lasted about 6 days. And so now last Sunday was the most people that we've ever had for a Sunday worship service. And so I think that was something to celebrate. And I just want to say it this way is obviously I don't think that's a trend that we can continue forever, but I think hopefully what it means is that you trust us with your kids, that they're learning and they're growing and they're having a great experience. I hope it means that you can step in here and figure that it's a safe space to figure out what God might have for you to do next, or that you go, okay, I just feel like the Spirit is moving here and I'm growing, and it could be a number of reasons. Maybe it's a safe space to bring a friend, but I just wanted to celebrate that with you, that for some reason God's giving us influence right now, and we don't take that lightly. And so thank you for being a part of it, and let's go forward. So yeah. All right. Let me show you another picture of this guy. I don't know if you'll recognize him or not, but that is Mr. Miyagi, one of the classic of all of the movies, okay, especially in the 80s, which, by the way, might just be the greatest decade ever. Can I get anybody to agree on that one? Okay, awesome. So that's the Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi giving one of his many life lessons to Daniel-san right there, and they are clipping the bonsai tree, okay? We're caring for the bonsai tree. And Daniel, in his nervousness, they have this conversation. Daniel says, okay, I may mess it up or something, and then Miyagi comes back with, no, listen, close eyes, trust, concentrate, think only tree, make perfect picture down to last pine needle, wipe your mind clean of everything but tree. Nothing exists in whole world, only tree. You got it? Okay? Open eyes, remember picture. And Daniel goes, yeah. And then Miyagi says, just trust picture. Just trust picture. As we jump into week 3 of I Want a New Family, here's a question of the day. Do you have a picture in mind of the family that you want to have? And some of us would say, okay, actually, no, I don't. Or maybe it's a little bit too late for us. Or, I wish we had done it differently, but we didn't, and maybe next time. I don't know how you answer that. Others of us go, okay, well, I don't, but I want to. I want to have that picture. And then there would be some of us who would say, actually, yes, I do have a picture in mind of what I want. Now, there's a resource over in the cafe. We have some books over there. One is called the Tech Wise Family. And in the Tech Wise Family, he actually says that 7 out of 10 of us actually have an explicit set of values for our family, but less than 3 out of 10 of us have written out that purpose or mission statement, okay? So my hope is that maybe as a result of today, you'll not only end up with a picture of the family that you want to have, but you might actually be able to write it down somewhere as a picture of you want to guide you, because there's just a lot at stake when we're talking about this. And at least we need to consider it, right? Because without a clear picture, we live more out of reaction than we live with intention. And without a clear picture, okay, you will likely end up with a picture that someone else shows you. And it might be one that our world hands, it might be one that our current culture hands out to us, it might be the one of just the regular life and the people around you, and everyone's holding up a picture saying, hey, maybe your family should actually look like this. And without a clear picture, many of us will end up living out the scripts that we are handed by other people. But, okay, a clear picture of what you want to have actually, in my opinion, makes things much more easier for you. Because if you've ever built a house before, or when we talk about we're going to build a 4 Camden facility here on our property somewhere, you know what happens. You have drawings, right? You have layouts, you've got renderings, you maybe have a 3D fly through of that thing, and you go, okay, hey, this is what we want that building or that house to actually look like. And once you know what you want it to look like, then everything actually begins with something to build on. And here's what's amazing, okay, is that with the proper foundation, you can actually arrive at the desired picture. And that's true whether we're talking about a house or whether we're talking about a family or whether you're just going to listen today through the lens of your own personal life. Now, Jesus actually is the one we're going to give credit with that metaphor. It's the closing challenge to his most famous sermon that we know of as the Sermon on the Mount. Spent an afternoon likely teaching, okay, about what it could look like if you laid your life alongside of his teachings, or more specifically, under his leadership. Like, what could your life actually look like if you were to reconsider your strategy or your approach or how you're going to live your life? Like, all of it, okay? And he covered a lot, like from work to worry to divorce or sex, or essentially every facet of everyday life. And how could you actually have a better one? And when I give my last message, whenever that is or wherever that is, when I retire, whatever it is, like, hey, they go, look, you get the microphone one more time. I will likely teach from either Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, or this section of Matthew 7, which, this is for free, at their core, I think are the same message. So Matthew chapter 7, this is how Jesus concludes his most famous teaching. He says, therefore, everyone, that's important, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain fell, the rivers rose, the winds blew and pounded that house, yet it didn't collapse because its foundation was on the rock. How many of you have ever heard this before? Yep, you've heard it before. You've heard the analogy, the metaphor. You grew up in church, you sang it, you know motions. It goes on. Everyone who hears these words of mine and doesn't act on them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain fell, the rivers rose, the winds blew and pounded that house, and it collapsed. It collapsed with a great crash. Now, we talk from time to time around here about when it comes to following Jesus or 2 ways to live, there are essentially 2 deals on the table. And this is really Jesus' version of the 2 deals. Hey, now that you've heard everything, okay, what are you going to do? Right, the question is not, okay, do you believe it? The question is not, do you think it's actually a better way? The question hanging out there for absolutely every person to answer is this, okay, what are you going to do? So to be clear, Jesus is not talking about the decisions that we all make that have the potential to blow up your own life, right? It's not that wise people never make any bad decisions and only foolish people make bad decisions. It's not Jesus going, okay, well, don't be that guy because he ruined his life by making bad decisions. Although I think that's true, that's not what Jesus is saying. It's not even Jesus saying, hey, foolish people just don't really care what happens in their life. They just live carefree and they roll the dice, right? And it's wise people are the ones who see all the danger coming and they move away from it. It's not even Jesus talking about, well, those are Christians right there, and those are people over there that aren't Christians. And I'll throw this in for free. Jesus wasn't even a Christian, okay? He was a Jew. What Jesus does say is that there are 2 houses that appear to be the same in absolutely every way. The only difference is what they chose to build that house on. The 2 builders, okay, are 2 responses to the teaching of Jesus. And the promise that he makes, okay, he says, everyone, and here it is, who hears and practices can build a house or a life or a home or a family that is still standing in the end. It's not a storm-free situation, it's storm-proof. He says you're not necessarily going to get away from all of them, but you can survive them and you could actually have a better life. And some people did it. They walked away and they said, okay, you know what? I'm going to try that. And Jesus goes, that's a wise person right there. But what we know about people, whether they're sitting on a hillside in the first century or whether you're sitting in a room like this one, is not everybody walks away and actually says, you know, he has a point. We really need to rethink this. I think that might be a better way. I need to consider my anger or my marriage or my money or my kids. The foolish person, right, has been listening, and then maybe they even believe that it's true, but they don't do anything with it. And Jesus says, okay, one life is actually going to stand, one is going to crash, and at the end of it, he basically says, would you rather be that guy or would you rather be that guy? Because, right, something's going to happen to you that has the potential to ruin your life. Like someone's going to do something to you, right, that will turn your house upside down, or you're going to face some situations, right, where you don't know what to do. And the only noticeable difference in the two houses or lives or families is what they're built upon. So, okay, this is the challenge, right? Build on something that's solid so that you'll actually get the result that you want. And Jesus goes, or again, you could be the other guy who didn't pay attention to what he was actually building on, just threw something up and it looked great in the end, right, on the outside, but it was never going to last. Maybe he didn't know what he was building on. Maybe he didn't really care. I don't know. Jesus just knows when he lays out these two options, some people are actually going to say, well, I don't believe that, or I'm not buying that. Or some people are going to say, I can see it, but not today. Maybe we'll do that later. But when you have a picture in mind, okay, hey, this is how I want my life to turn out. My house will be standing strong, right? He says, then, when you got that picture in mind, build on a solid foundation. That if you will trust him enough, right, know his words, why they work, and try them, put them into practice, right, then this is the guarantee. Your life won't fall apart and you can build something amazing. That's the teaching, okay, from Jesus. Let's just turn it towards home and family specifically, because a lot of us have a picture in mind, okay, for our family, that someday it's going to be like this, or I hope it turns out this way, and it'll never happen because we're building on the wrong foundation. We use this phrase around here, okay, it actually comes from Jesus in John chapter 10, verse 10, and he started out by saying, hey, you need to know that you have an enemy in this world, and he wants nothing more than to see you fall and crash and settle for less. But Jesus, in his own words, he says, look, I've come to actually give you a full life. Right? Abundant, it's better, it's more than enough, it's over and above what you thought was possible. It is more than normal, full. Normal, by the way, is what most everybody else in your neighborhood has. Normal is what most all of the other families in your school have, right? It's average, it's in the middle. I have a pastor friend who says nobody wrote in their high school yearbook, I want to have a normal life. So brace yourself, right? Somebody, it goes like this. Someday I want to have an average person. I want to be an average person, get married, have a blah, blah, middle of the road marriage, maybe two not so great marriages. Along the way, we'll have some nothing special children and spend all of our time staring at mindless TV, not really talking unless we're yelling from different rooms of the house. Spend most of our don't have enough time and way too much money we don't really have to buy crap we don't really need to impress people who don't really care. We'll overcommit ourselves to a calendar packed with here today, gone tomorrow things, and tell ourselves that that's normal. And it's all worth it, right? Because we will build character in our children, and we know it won't mean anything 5 minutes after it's over, but unconsciously, we've already put up the white flag and declared that this is just what people do in today's world. This is normal. So, well, welcome to Christ Church, everybody. That's not how we intended to do it, right? But it's what a lot of us have ended up with. and our family got hijacked, right? Our house got derailed, our own life got blown off course. Some 10 years ago, probably or so ago, I'm driving a Jeep Grand Cherokee. I'm on the outer belt line, which is a very busy stretch, okay, in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it starts making this horrible sound, and it's like the whole thing is about ready to just come apart, okay? The steering wheel's violently shaking, tires are moving back and forth, and I can barely keep this thing in my lane, okay? So I pull over to the side, I come to a stop, I rest. I decide it's been long enough, let's go again, and it goes for a while, okay? But this happens a couple of times, and I ignore it, okay? Standard man rule, by the way, if you ignore it and it stops for a bit, we believe it's magically fixed itself. Anybody else? So, sometime later, one of my teenage daughters is actually driving it. She experiences the same thing. I'm like, well, this isn't safe, and so I do what all the rest of you would do, is I Google it, okay? And would you believe that there's an entire website devoted to this very specific problem just for Jeeps? Okay, you can look it up. It's called the death wobble. Isn't that amazing? Like, the stabilizing bar is shot. I certainly need an alignment as well, okay? And when your Jeep is like pulling in one direction, you're getting all this uneven wear and tear. And in my case, it's severe enough that I was easily being pulled off of the road instead of being able to steer the thing in the direction that I wanted to go. And apparently, they say it's just normal to be pulled off course. And can we just say the family and home feels like that a lot? I mean, what Jesus is saying and what Jeep will tell you is that something will come that will pull you off course. And this is about to be, I guess I would say, not so encouraging for some of us, so I'll just rip the Band-Aid off and maybe we can see it for what it is and then we can, how to treat it. But many of our families are being built on really shaky ground. And unless we call a timeout, okay, and reconsider our strategy from this point on, all right? Unless something changes, and that's really soon, and we keep going this way and we ignore what we see and what we hear and what we're experiencing, it's only a matter of time before it all falls down. Maybe not today or tomorrow or in a month, but you play it out in a year from now, and we're looking back on some ruin and some regret. Because not everybody who sets out to actually build a home or a life or a family ends up with the one that they wanted or hoped for. Right? Just knowing Jesus' words or knowing them and repeating them and actually not doing it, and then we act surprised when the house falls down. There's an or here, okay? Or, Jesus, you could, with some intention, actually build on something that's stable enough to actually stay the course so that when the winds blow, it won't knock you down or move you in a direction that you don't want to go. The question is, what is actually solid enough to build on? Because you have a home, okay, all of us, right? It's a married home, it's a single home, there's kids, there's no kids, there's roommates, and what you build that home or that family on reveals what it is that you're depending on. And it will be the determining factor, okay, when everything comes at us that we didn't see coming and we need it to stand up and actually not fall apart. So we began in week number 1, okay, 3 weeks ago, saying that your job as a parent or a grandparent, a relative, somebody who works in our kids or our student ministry, like your number 1 job is to love God with absolutely everything that you have, right? All of it. And then to actually lead your family and the people around you to do the same thing. And the challenge was, hey, memorize the words of God, right? Teach them to your kids when you get out of bed in the morning, before you go to bed at night, when you're in the carpool, probably in that context, when they're in the chariot. Like, do all this work, okay? Write them down, post them somewhere as a reminder to you and then everyone else around you that this home is going to be founded on this and it's being built on and practicing what God says is right and true. That challenge actually came from a guy named Moses, right? The leader who delivered the Israelites from slavery. He walked them to freedom across the Red Sea, and then Moses handed off leadership to Joshua. Joshua is the one who took people across the Jordan and they marched around the city of Jericho, and ultimately he brought those people into the promised land. And there's a scene in Joshua 24, right before Joshua dies. Things seem to be going pretty well for everyone in this new land, right? It's amazing. He brings them all together to issue a warning. And Joshua's warning, if I could just kind of summarize it for you, is that, okay, soon you're all going to start to look around at all of the other people in the neighborhood, and they're living differently, and it's going pretty well for them. They're not even following God, and they actually seem to be happy. You're going to get curious about all that, and before long, you're going to be tempted to let go of what God says is true and best, and you're going to become normal like everyone else. And here's how a part of that challenge reads in Joshua 24. He says, therefore, fear the Lord. Okay, trust that his intentions and his plans are good. And worship him in sincerity and truth. Get rid of the gods your ancestors worshiped beyond the Euphrates, hey, back there where we came from in Egypt, and worship the Lord. But if it doesn't please you to worship the Lord, choose for yourselves today. Hey, it's Joshua, I have a ton of reasons to trust God, but if that's not enough for you, choose another God. In other words, you can choose a fake God and what everyone else around you is chasing after, a small G God, or you could throw that out and go for the one true God. And he says next what could probably be called Joshua's family mission statement, right? Hey, you want to know what my family is like and what we stand for and what we're about and what we're dependent on in our home, our marriage, and our life. One sentence statement. I'm not even going to ask you to read it for me. I'm going to take this one on my own. As for me, okay, and my family, we will worship the Lord. Hey, I don't know what y'all are going to do in this moment, but here's what my family and my home are going to do. That regardless, okay, of what anybody else is doing, I'm committed to follow God no matter what, and so is my family. It's Joshua going, okay, I'm going to make a decision right here, puts all of his cards on the table, pushes all the chips to the middle, right, and says, when I look back over my life, I see the power of God and the promises of God that he's kept. Of course, I choose to trust him going forward. And this is how we will have the home and the family that we want. So let's ask a few questions. Most of this work you're going to have to take with you and do it, but I think if you do it, it will lead you to the picture that you want. Number one, do you have a picture in mind of the family you want to have? Down the road, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now. And one of the ways that I think might actually be helpful for you to get some clarity on that is to think about the words you would use to describe your family today. Like if you were to fill in the blank, okay, life in our family is. It might be busy, angry, distant, close, okay? We're loving, we're safe, it's dangerous, we're happy. If you were to stop right now and look around at your family, or if you're not there yet, just your own life, okay, and yet you say, well, I don't really like what I have right now, okay, you're here now. Where are we trying to go? Number one, is there a picture of what you really want things to look like to be a strong and standing home? Number two, if you had that, okay, if the picture became a reality, how might things be different for you? Like, could you imagine if that was actually true, okay, that picture was real, like you had peace and safety and security and people were happy and were making good decisions? Do those kinds of things actually describe something that's better than what you have now? Three, what's standing in the way of having it? And you might say, okay, well, it's another person and we're not on the same page. My kids won't like it if we make these changes. We've done it this way for so long, or hey, there's a lot of pain in that kind of a change, or hey, I don't really know what to do to make that happen. I would just say this, if you want your family to be and to look different, then you have to be different. Question 4, what can you do today to start seeing that picture come into focus? Okay, if you're just to kind of turn the dial one click on having a new family, and the way we talk about next steps, I'm going to take one step in that direction. What is that one? And maybe the step is, okay, we're just going to decide. I'm going to take a next step to decide what we're really going to build on. Or I'm going to take one step and initiate a conversation when you leave here. It might be, hey, we're just simply going to commit to go back and spend some time working through these questions right here. I don't know, but what can you do today to move towards that picture? Okay. So let's land here. Because you're developing a picture in your mind, okay, can you actually put it in writing? And could you maybe do that by just starting by filling in this blank, right? As for me and my family, we will, and you could just fill in the blank. You know, I remember bringing our first child, our son Jordan, home from the hospital. And again, we were so young, we were still in college. And I have a very vivid memory going, oh man, what have we done? Like what? We're not babysitting anymore. He's staying. We're here. We're in charge forever. I'm not really sure what to do here, okay? And we made it through 3 kids in the preteen years and the teen years and college, and now we're parenting kids who are parenting kids, which is just so strange, okay? No one ever really led us like through these kinds of exercises. You know, we had goals because of the way we both grew up and that kind of thing, but they weren't written down. And I would say many of the details of how we did that was by default. But we had these agreed upon kinds of principles, okay, that Jesus was going to be the leader of our family. So I was just kind of scribbled out real fast. I mean, I didn't even really think about this very much the other day, but I would say if we had some kind of like a statement for us, it would go something like this. You're welcome to borrow any of these phrases. We're not here to make these kids' lives easier, but better. You like that one? We want them to love God and serve God and be prepared to move out. Can I get an amen? And then still want to hang out with us, but not live with us. So we're making it. We're making it. Hey, listen, parents, I know you have a tough job to do, okay? But rather than feeling like you have to have all the answers and everything figured out and come up with all this stuff on your own, what if, okay, we just look at what Jesus said, and there's a lot of things that we got to talk about, right? We got to talk about gender and identity and sexuality and decisions and future. What if we just figure out maybe what Jesus said about these things and then let God's Spirit work through these words in the life of your family? Like you just set the course, okay, according to Jesus and what he says is right and true and best. And we might do 100 things right, okay, when it comes to leading our family, but this is the one that we really can't miss. Right? To build a life or a home or a family that will stand through anything because it's actually built on the foundation of Jesus. And you, okay, you just trust the picture. Just trust the picture. So we're going to respond this morning in a number of ways, but what I want to do is ask you to stand, and the band's going to lead us through a song. It's essentially to sing a blessing over you, but if you sing it, you'll be singing it to each other in the room, okay? Just a reminder of how good God is. But there's a number of ways to respond. At the end of the first service, we baptized a guy. It was really cool because he had all of his men's group down here, and they were there to support him. And so maybe that's something you've been thinking about for a while. You're like, I need to trust Jesus, and I need to build on that, and I should be baptized. You just head back there to that back corner. We could baptize you this morning. But there might be a number of ways for you to respond, and while God's doing that work with you and you're open to hearing from him right now, I just want to pray over you, and then we'll sing. But Lord, today we say thank you for just these very, very simple words that you've spoken that just show the two options and what happens if we trust you or don't trust you, what happens if we do what you say or what we don't do what you say. And God, my prayer for all of us when it comes to our family is that we would choose to build it on you and your words, what's right and true and best. So God, just give us the confidence to be able to step into that today, trusting that you can help the picture become a reality. And we pray all these things today through Jesus. Amen.
Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face on you and give you peace. Oh, peace. Amen. Amen. Amen.
glad you came to church today so you can be a part of that? Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw that hug or not, but I can only imagine a few years ago when Derek was hitting quarterbacks, it probably hurt worse than that. But man, I'll be all right in a second. Hopefully you can walk out of here today with what Jesus said and not anything else. That everyone who chooses to build on him and his words can have the life that he says is best. So, man, I'm glad you guys were here today. Hey, a couple of things real fast, if I can remember what they are. Yeah, if you're in the room and you want someone to pray with you, you can always go to that back corner, and we would love to do that with you. If you're our guest, thanks so much for spending part of your weekend with us. If you have a few minutes, we'd love to invite you to what we call 10 After, just out the doors down the hallway to the right, in a room called Connection Point. You can meet some people, maybe ask some questions, figure out what your next steps are to get better connected. And if you came ready to practice generosity and you want to do that in the room, you can just leave that with the ushers on your way out today. So, man, awesome morning. So glad you guys were here. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. See you next week.